The evening sky was painted with hues of orange and pink as Vine sat by the window, her fingers tracing patterns on the glass. Jungkook, her husband and the formidable Mafia leader, was busy with his work in the study, leaving Vine alone with her thoughts. Suddenly, a knock on the door interrupted the silence, causing Vine to glance up in surprise. Who could that be at this hour? She wondered aloud, rising from her seat to answer the door. As she opened it, her heart skipped a beat at the sight of a familiar face standing before her, Jungkook's ex-girlfriend, Heron. There was an awkward tension in the air as they exchanged hesitant greetings. Heron, what are you doing here? Vine asked, trying not to keep her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. Heron hesitated for a moment before speaking. I needed to see Jungkook. It's important, she replied, her voice tinged with urgency. Vine's heart sank at the mention of Jungkook's name, knowing that seeing Heron again would stir up memories and emotions she had long buried. He's busy right now. You could tell me what is it, she said, not wanting her to meet him as she knows it will only give him pain and unwanted memories. I can't tell you. It's important. I need to meet him. Saying that, she made her way across Vine to the house forcefully. Coming before her to stop her, Vine kept calling her name, but Heron wouldn't stop, not after getting inside. As Heron walked past her, Vine couldn't help but notice the way Heron glanced around the room, taking in the luxurious furnishings and elegant decor with a hint of nostalgia in her eyes. It was a stark reminder of the life Jungkook had led before Vine came to his life. Just then, hearing all the murmurs, Jungkook emerged from his study to see what's happening, his expressions unreadable as he laid eyes on Heron, standing in his living room. Vine could sense the tension between them, a silent exchange of memories and regrets that lingered in the air. Heron, what are you doing here? Jungkook asked, his voice tight with restraint. I needed to talk to you, Jungkook. It's about us. Heron replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Jungkook's jaw clenched at her words, his eyes flickering with a mixture of emotions anger, resentment, and perhaps even a hint of longing, which made Vine's heart clench because she could see it in his eyes. Vine watched silently, her heart aching at the sight of the man she loved being pulled back into a past he had tried so hard to leave behind. Whatever it is, Heron, I don't need to hear you anymore, Jungkook said firmly, his gaze never meeting Heron's. Or it did for some seconds, but not with the intensity with which he looks at Vine. It's about us, Jungkook, Heron said in a calm voice, trying to get their sympathies. Jungkook's reaction softened up as he spoke. Us? There's no us, Heron, he whispered, looking in her eyes with disappointment and regret. We both know that we approached each other just for some business, because our enemies were same and we wanted to burn them. That's it. They are dead now. So is the relationship between us, he said, clenching his fist. Vine could see he was lying that there was nothing else between them. In the meantime of their business, Jungkook actually fell in love with Heron. It wasn't just for fun anymore. He cared about her, felt for her, his heart beat for her. But he never dared to approach her because he knew she wouldn't agree. It was her who approached him first. She showed him that she loves him more than anything. He couldn't be happier when he found it out. He stayed awake his nights thinking about her. Everything about him was suddenly about her. But it turned out she was only lying. She used him against her own lover, selling information. They both knew what was the price if he found out. Death. But he didn't kill her, as he once loved her. Nobody knows, but Heron is here now, that she is left alone by her lover too. The relationship between us isn't dead, Jungkook. I still love you. Just shut the hell up, he shouted. His voice echoed in the whole house, and Vine could feel the anger and resentment in it. There is nothing left to discuss, Heron. Go away before I kill you. His hands curled into fists, and he clenched them hardly. He gritted his teeth at her confession. His heart was burning. I know I've caused a lot of pain. I just wanted to apologize. Her puppy face could fool a lot of people, maybe even Jungkook. It was one of the reasons that he didn't look in her eyes for long, because he was scared that he might let her get away with it. He might forgive her. He might forget what she did to him. That was how much he loved her. But not this time, because now he found someone who loved him back with the same intensity as he did. Vine, looking at Jungkook, she couldn't bear it anymore. Fine. Apology accepted, she said firmly, looking at her. Jungkook, is that all? Heron, no, there is something else. I hope you would hate me less and actually forgive me. She still thought that Jungkook might forgive her and get entangled in her talks, but the relationship he was currently in didn't allow him to do that. Jungkook nodded. I heard that. Now get out. He went back into his room after saying that. He was on his way to the room but stopped when he heard her saying, I'll go, but know that I'll always be here for you, Jungkook. Fine. We don't need your presence. Jungkook didn't turn back but stopped at his place after hearing them. Heron. Goodbye, Jungkook. Goodbye, Vine. Taking her fake tears with herself, she went out of the door, the house, and the area. Vine looked at his back as he was still standing at his place. His hands clenched into fists, his jaw tightened, frozen at his place. Vine slowly went to him and rested her head on his back, wrapping her arms around his waist. She hugged him from the back, and all of a sudden, all of the racing emotions inside his heart started calming down. His fists rested, his jaw untightened, his eyes gaining back control. Don't let her ruin what we have, she said, her voice the softest melody he ever heard. After a few seconds, his hands slowly came to her hands, holding them with gentleness and care. Jungkook, she can't. His voice a low whisper. She stayed at his back for a few minutes, ensuring him that she got his back, no matter what he goes through. She will be his and he will be hers. Wine. Promise me. Jungkook. I promise. Let's focus on us. That's what I want. She smiled, her grip tightening a little on his waist as she closed her eyes, saying, I love you, Jungkook. I love you too. After his emotions came to a rest and he finally focused on nothing but themselves, Jungkook held her hands and turned to face her, wrapping his arms around her waist. She gazed her in between them. He looked at her, his eyes filled with love and gratitude. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for loving me. She blushed and kept looking in his eyes before she raised her heels and kissed him for a brief second. Jungkook finally smiled, the smile which took away all he was suffering and made his heart bloom flowers in it. He smiled widely and gently pecked her lips.